All right, hello everybody. Bostonian reviews everything, and I just wanted to briefly go over. I saw something real interesting on YouTube by a big YouTube creator, and I thought he just made such a great point just about the internet itself that I did want to go over the video, at least the main point that I took away from it. And I'm not reviewing his channel. It's a big channel. It's about 12 million subscribers at this point, and he's big time. I'll link it down below anyway. But I just wanted to briefly go over the beginning of his video, what he's talking about, and give my own thoughts into kind of his perspective and what he's saying. So let's just quickly take a look here.
Knows it was a giant. Everyone still doesn't care. This week I saw something so baffling.
So this is Charlie.
Really genuinely making me question if the human brain is evolving, becoming smoother, less wrinkles. It's the case of the TikTok giant. For those that don't know, there was a TikTok creator who filmed a giant, mysterious figure on top of a mountain. Was it Sasquatch? Was it the Loch Ness Monster? Perhaps Goatman? No. He claimed that he had seen a giant. And
So I saw this video on TikTok probably like a month ago. It's a relatively old story as far as like the internet operates. But again, I mean, I saw his take on it and just thought it was not only just delving into, believing in giants and stuff like this and how like a community responds to stories like this, but also like us as human beings, like where we're at this point. And I'll get more into it. I feel like we're in two separate kind of realities at this point. I think one is a virtual reality, and the virtual reality I'll discuss later, the motivations and what's creating the virtual reality in a lot of ways. And then the second way is just social like real social interactions. Just being at work or at a function or whatever it is, where you might have to respond differently when you're actually face to face than you would, online. And the online world can either be something that's private for you or something like that. So, but we'll get into it. Let's just get to his main point, and then we'll talk about that.
TikTok absolutely ate that up. They devoured it like it was a full course of spaghetti and meatballs. Not only TikTok, though, it then expanded to Twitter, where even more people started to believe that they had just seen irrefutable proof of a giant because there was something on top of a mountain that was big. This whole thing is like a...
See, that's the thing. It's interesting, too. Like, TikTok, I think, is something that lends itself to be more susceptible to this kind of stuff, like as far as like building a community around it. So I was surprised to hear, excuse me, that Twitter also became an avenue for this story to really... to blossom and grow. So, because I just feel like there's two different demographics going on with Twitter and TikTok. So, I'm surprised that it crossed both platforms. Although TikTok is becoming like conspiracy oriented if the algorithm thinks that that's something that you're interested in, or if you've even watched like one conspiracy video, then all of a sudden you're fed all this conspiracy stuff. And I guess you can say that Twitter has always had that community too, so I understand that.
Believing the tooth fairy's real because when they put their tooth under their pillow, there's a quarter there. It is easily debunked and has been multiple times now, but then they just throw away the truth that's facing them because they prefer to live in the magic of there being giants walking amongst us here.
That's funny. Like, he thinks it's funny. This is a level-headed guy. And I love his point here. But one of the things that is concerning to me, and the real foundation, I think, is, and I discussed it in another video, but is the subconscious nihilism. Like, I believe that consumerism and capitalism itself have led to a form of nihilism that's not, like historically what we might think of as nihilism. But nihilism itself, I think, lends itself for the creation of these ideas in which to believe in. And no matter how rooted in fantasy it might be. The fact that there are, in my opinion, and there's no judgment here really, like I understand it, like, I've gone through my own delusions, and like I think human beings just go through their delusions, and they shouldn't be faulted for that. Because I just think that sometimes, psychologically people might be going through a dark phase in their life, and they don't really understand that this depression or whatever's happening to them in the moment is fostering these kind of reactions to, internet stories and, giants. Like for me, like giants, if there were giants walking around, there would definitely be somebody already who would be plotting to make money off of these giants. I don't think the intelligence agencies and stuff like that are going to be hiding, giants from the world for any reason whatsoever. It just logically, when you break it down, it doesn't make any sense to me why an intelligence agency would spend so much time and energy hiding giants and stuff like that. But again, we'll go through this video a little bit more, and then then I'll discuss what I think is the real foundations of this stuff.
It's a beautiful delusion, albeit very sad too, because people are also convinced that not only was this proof of a giant, it's proof that the CIA murdered the guy for filming the giant. I think people are...
See, that's such a great point, and like I think building a world, let's say like the back rooms or something like that, is a very fascinating thing to do for the internet. And being able to like kind of like tell these stories in the only way that you could really tell them was just through the internet. But you gotta, in my opinion, in order for it to be sincere, genuine, true, and good for the audience, there has to be some type of understanding that this is being created by a community, and this idea has reached the imagination of the people, and then they've contributed to it. But everybody understands, like the back rooms, for the most part, I think everybody understands that this is a fictional cultural phenomenon that people can contribute to. And the giant thing, as far as the way that it was designed, because again, I did see the TikTok video, and it does seem like real. And in that element of manipulation, I'm not a huge fan of. So I'm glad he called that out as well.
This point where they are legitimately believing everything as if we're back in the like actual early ages of humans. I saw on TikTok and Twitter, this blew up.
Great. That's such a great point.
The TikTok giant.
Okay, so what he just said there is actually the reason why I was like, I got to do a video on this, because I think it's such a wonderful perspective to have. Like that things like this are exposing humanity's kind of like willingness to like degrade all the way back to when the civilization thought that all these crazy things were what was pulling the sun up and then pulling the sun down and bringing in the moon, and like and not to say that I don't want to say that science is so evolved and so much more mature, and to make fun of history in that way. I don't want to say that, because science has its own religious qualities to it that I think that that haven't been sufficiently realized by like everybody yet. Like, even some of these scientific explanations, when you really break them down, you're kind of like, okay. I mean, we've categorized that physical experience in the world. So and we've developed a consensus where that's what we agree on. But when you really break that concept down, like any philosopher would or whatever, it just becomes exactly what it is. It's a categorization that we've agreed upon to understand the world and put it in perspective. But it's not necessarily like a concrete truth. I mean, if you fall out the window, for the most part, especially like 4 stories, 5 stories, you're going to die. So that's a truth, obviously, and a scientific truth. But having ourselves so open to these type of concepts and then aggressively like believing in them, straight away. I think this 50%, probably just like me, was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I don't fucking believe in giants or anything like that. But this is an interesting kind of story. I wonder what happened. And then you hear that the guy is, no longer has an account, so it adds to the mystery of that. And then I didn't really think about it. after I watched it. I certainly wasn't going to Twitter. I may have researched maybe for like a half an hour what may have happened to this guy. But then I got on with my life, as I'm sure like most people would. But again, I think that the major point here that he's making is it is very strange that the internet is exposing our willingness to believe these sensational stories. It is kind of weird.
God, what was the guy's name though? There was a guy on TikTok who took a video of a mountain, and there was a big figure on top of the mountain. It's like, oh shit, it's a giant. And then people believed it. They're like, we've seen the proof the giants are real. And now the person behind the account's not posting. The person's gone missing. So
Yeah.
like the government must have got him and killed him for exposing the truth. It's so fucking crazy how, like, I actually think there have been irreparable damage done to the human brain because of TikTok. These are people, adults, actual adults. Why don't I just pull up the Twitter account? That was
See, that's a great point that he's saying. Now, so, and that's the reason I wanted to get into it, and I'll end it here. I'm not gonna. I'll rate this concept. It's an 8.7. I think he has a fantastic perspective on this. But then the thing that I wanted to talk about again was this virtual kind of like cyborg-esque reality that we have, and then we have the real, raw, social interaction reality as well. So we're kind of split, in my opinion, into two worlds, and then we behave differently depending on what world that we're in. So why there is a community that I've discovered, unfortunately, on like TikTok or whatever, that actually believes like that actually has all these stories about like giants. Like, why are we talking about giants? Why are we talking about giants? Why are there adult human beings who are talking about giants? I think this is really I wouldn't say it's a concern, but in the virtual cyborg, and what I mean by cyborg is I think Elon Musk said it correctly. I think that like, having a computer in the palm of your hand and being able to just, go on the internet and answer a question in that moment, I think is kind of like a cyborg activity. I mean, we don't have anything in our heads yet. But why is there such a potential to develop these, what I call virtual cults? And I might make another video on virtual cults. But why are we in the United States so susceptible to joining virtual cults? And what I mean by that is giants, and there's a slew of other, like, I want to be careful with the conspiracy theory stuff, like, because I think they're overly categorized as conspiracy theorists, and then all of a sudden it could be like a year later and it's like, oh, well, they were just kind of reading the room, But again, there does seem to be, and I don't know if it's a need for like community, which is why people are like reaching out and being like, oh, do they feel the same way that I do? Oh, well then we're building these, we're building this community around giants. Again, I'm not like judging people, and I understand that like there's a lot of loneliness and all these other factors that kind of go into like a human being as delusional as this. But at some point, I think we got to kind of take a step back and say, why are all these things developing? I mean, this is really, again, in my opinion, it's the subconscious. We don't realize that we're nihilists or that there's some kind of subconscious nihilism going on, because we have so much in our face that reinforces these values that we have in the United States. And what I mean by that is, like, they kind of forced value onto the audience that then makes it appear like there's an actual value system and a morality in the country, But that might not necessarily be the case. So, for an example, like TikTok or Instagram, like one of our values that I see constantly promoted is like these people online who are making $70,000 a month or something. And like we're like, oh, wow, that must be so great. Now, within capitalism, one of our perceptions of what freedom is is getting a lot of money so that we don't have to worry about bills and we don't have to worry about kids and we don't have to worry about, you know, kids eating, and like we don't have to worry about like where we live and stuff like that. And like because the system is so aggressively designed to accumulate wealth, that the people who just weren't destined to be anything but just a normal 40-hour a week person, you know, is really struggling. And that, but then you see the propaganda of like YouTube videos saying you can make $10,000 a month here, or you see somebody working out and saying you just gotta, you know, pass your pain threshold, and all this other stuff that like is basically reinforcing the system that's exploiting everybody. So then I think one of the results of that is this kind of devaluing of the self, because you want to run around like David Goggins or whatever every day, and then you do it for 5 days and then you don't commit to it because it sucks. Running fucking sucks. Sorry. I hate to run. I like to play tennis. I don't like to fucking run, and I'm not gonna run. I don't care. And like I don't think I'm any less valuable because I'm not running around every day. So I think that's one element that draws us into this kind of nihilism. We don't really believe in anything. We're not forced, but we're told that there are things of value and what to believe. But I don't think the human being really deep down believes in it. I think that they recognize I don't know. I think that they recognize that something's not right. And then what happens with that psychological state is that you feel less valuable as just a human being, not in the marketplace or anything like that. You feel kind of lonely, I think. There's a loneliness, and you really want something to believe in. I mean, that's really, I think, what's going on in our culture right now, is not recognizing this kind of nihilist emotional and psychological state, and then designing these delusions like fucking giants on a hilltop that the CIA is protecting. I mean, when you say that out loud, I mean, isn't it time to maybe worry about something else? The other thing that's going on, I think, culturally, is that we're in a and I'll make other videos about this. I didn't mean to make this so long. But we're in a historical transition. And, I mean, that's just the way it is. You know, we are in a historical transition. You know, automation is at our doorstep. There's already, you know, little robot coolers in Los Angeles fucking driving around. The human being, I think, is getting scared because you see the chat GPT, which I'll make a video about as well, that can do, you know, it's all, the AI is always presented like it's so much greater than the human being. And that's got to be, whether you think that you're paying attention to it or not, there's got to be an effect there for like either your own future, your kids' future, you know. How are we going to handle it as a human community? Unfortunately, I don't want to get I don't want to rant too much. This is about giants. Let's keep it on the giants, okay? But I think all of those factors are going on for us, and it makes us more susceptible to believe in things that might be exciting, and actually that might feel exciting for us, that fulfills a certain need and a certain, I would say, even a spiritual need that we're not getting. But we have to recognize that adults should not be participating in this stuff. It's we gotta pull some layers back here and really figure out. Again, if it's just a story online and it's world building, which I think is going to start happening with the younger community and filmmakers and stuff like that. A lot of people are going to start building worlds and getting people involved. I like that because people are using the internet in a good way. This is not good. So I rated Charlie's video. Wonderful perspective. I'll link his video down below. Again, it's, I've got no fault. I mean, he's got 12 million. We're building this channel up though. So, and I watch the videos and then we'll keep getting better and better and better. This is about, putting one foot in front of the other, as I said. And we'll keep going over some interesting subjects. But, this is an important subject for me. I've actually made a film about it called The Overman. And it's about subconscious nihilism, delusion, misinterpretation of text, and acting on a misinterpretation. And also trying to fulfill this void that's inside of us. Which maybe the best advice is stop. And I'm going through this journey with everybody else. Maybe it's just starting to accept what life is and not thinking that it's fucking Coronas on a beach all day long. So that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll be reviewing The Last of Us next. Thank you.